Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something. We're here today to talk about something we all experience at some point in our lives. That moment when a man turns into a storm. A man's patience is often one of his most misunderstood qualities. From the outside, it can look like he's unaffected by the pressures around him, that he's unbothered by the little slights, the disappointments, the constant demands that life and people place on his shoulders. People see a man who shows up every day, works hard, provides, sacrifices, and they assume he's invincible. They assume he can just keep taking it day after day, year after year. But what they don't understand is that even the calmest waters have a breaking point. Even the smoothest sea can turn violent if the conditions push it far enough. Patience is not weakness. It's not a lack of feeling. In fact, it's the opposite. It's strength under control. It's a deliberate choice to be steady in the face of adversity. A man doesn't explode at every inconvenience. He doesn't crumble every time someone lets him down. He holds it in. He says, "I can handle this." And he does over and over again. He carries the weight silently, sometimes with a smile, sometimes with nothing more than a tired nod. He listens when people doubt him, when they question him, when they ask for more than he's got to give, and he finds a way to keep going. But patience, no matter how deep, is not infinite. There comes a point where the load gets too heavy, where the cracks start to form in the foundation. A man's spirit can withstand a great deal, but it cannot withstand being taken for granted forever. It cannot endure being disrespected, being overlooked, being undervalued without consequences. Bit by bit, with each unkind word, with each broken promise, with each demand that ignores his humanity, the storm inside him builds. It's a slow process. At first, it might just feel like a little extra tension in his chest. Maybe a shorter fuse than usual. Maybe a feeling he can't quite name, a tightness, a frustration he tries to shake off. But when the same patterns repeat themselves, when the people around him don't notice or don't care, the small storm clouds start to gather. Silent at first, invisible to the untrained eye, but undeniable to him, he knows it's coming. He knows he can't keep swallowing his pain forever. And when that patience finally runs out, it's not a small thing. It's not a minor reaction. It's a full-blown storm. It's the thunderclap that was years in the making. It's the eruption of everything he held back for too long, not because he's unstable, not because he's weak, but because he's human, because no matter how strong a man is, he still has limits, and when those limits are ignored, when he is pushed past what is reasonable, past what is healthy, he must act. That's when the transformation happens. That's when the calm man becomes the storm and it catches people by surprise. They say, "I didn't see this coming." They wonder, why is he so angry? But the truth is, the signs were there all along. They just weren't looking. They mistook his silence for indifference. They mistook his tolerance for acceptance. But a man's patience is a gift, not a weakness to exploit. It's a powerful, beautiful thing, but once it's exhausted, it changes everything. And when that storm finally breaks, it's not a random act of destruction. It's the natural consequence of years of pressure, of silent battles, of resilience finally reaching its end. Understanding this truth matters. It matters because it reminds us to appreciate the patience of the people around us, to recognize the silent battles they fight every day, to not take for granted the strength it takes to stay calm in a world that constantly challenges your spirit. A man's patience is strong, but it is not endless, and when he reaches his limit, the world will feel the storm that was quietly brewing inside him all along. When a man turns into a storm, it is not simply a moment of anger or frustration. It is a profound and powerful transformation. It's the turning point where he decides that who he was is no longer enough for where he's going. The storm doesn't just represent chaos, it represents change. It's the shedding of old skins, the breaking of chains, and the clearing of space for something new to be born. People often see the surface, the sudden burst of emotion, the sharp decisions, the intense energy, and mistake it for recklessness. But underneath that turbulence is purpose. There is clarity in the storm, even if it doesn't look that way to everyone else. A man who turns into a storm is a man who has reached a place where staying the same is no longer an option. He's tried patience. He's tried understanding. He's tried enduring. But life, people, circumstances, whatever it may be, have pushed him into a corner where his only way forward is to break free with force. It's not a breakdown. It's a breakthrough. It's a declaration that the quiet suffering is over, that the compromises that once made sense no longer serve him. The storm is him reclaiming himself, his dignity, his voice, his dreams. Change doesn't come quietly. Growth doesn't happen without disruption. If you think about nature, every major shift, the seasons changing, the rivers carving through mountains, the forests renewing themselves, it all happens through powerful, sometimes violent movements. It's not gentle, it's not comfortable, and the same is true inside a man when he reaches that point of transformation. The storm is messy, it shakes up relationships, it challenges expectations. It scares people who got comfortable with the man he used to be. But it is necessary, because without that storm he stays stuck. He remains trapped in the version of himself that was built for survival, not for fulfillment. When a man turns into a storm, he's not trying to hurt people, he's trying to save himself. He's fighting for the life he knows he's meant to live, the man he's meant to become. And sometimes that fight looks like walking away from toxic environments. Sometimes it's cutting ties with people who have drained him for too long. Sometimes it's changing careers, moving cities, starting over anything that gets him closer to his truth. The outside world might judge him. They might call him selfish, unpredictable, even crazy. But deep down, he knows the storm is what's saving him from drowning in a life that no longer fits. Transformation isn't pretty. It's not polished. It's raw. It's uncomfortable. It's standing in the middle of a mess with wind howling and rain pouring down and knowing that even though it's terrifying, it's the only way forward. The man who embraces his storm understands that sometimes you have to tear down the old before you can build the new. He knows that pain is part of the process. He accepts that not everyone will understand, and that's okay. Because he's not doing it for them. He's doing it for himself, for his future, for the life that's calling him from just beyond the chaos. When the storm passes, and it always does, the man who emerges is not the same. He's wiser, stronger, clearer. He carries the lessons of the storm within him. He knows what he stands for now. He knows what he will no longer tolerate. And perhaps most importantly, he knows that he has the power to rebuild his life, no matter how much was torn apart. The storm wasn't the end of him. It was the making of him. It was the moment he stopped surviving and started living. It was the beginning of everything real. Storms are often seen as destructive forces, tearing through landscapes and leaving chaos in their wake. But if you look closer, nature teaches us a deeper truth. After every storm, there is renewal. The ground is cleared, the air is fresher, the sky is clearer. Things that were weak are washed away, and only what is strong remains. In the same way, when a man goes through his personal storm, it may look violent and unsettling from the outside, but in reality, it's a powerful act of making room for new growth. The storm isn't about destruction for its own sake, it's about clearing away the dead weight that no longer serves his life. A man who steps into his storm is stepping into a process of necessary change. For years, he may have been carrying burdens he didn't need to carry. He might have been living according to the expectations of others, sacrificing his own dreams just to keep peace, just to survive. His storm is not random. It is the result of everything he's been suppressing: his needs, his voice, his potential. When the storm finally comes, it tears down the old structures, the limiting beliefs, the toxic relationships, the fears that kept him small. And though it is painful in the moment, it is also beautiful because it makes way for something new, something real. Growth cannot happen without space. A farmer knows that before you can plant a new crop, you have to till the soil. You have to break the hardened ground, rip up the old roots, and turn over the earth. It looks messy, it feels violent, but it's necessary. Likewise, when a man goes through his storm, he is tilling the soil of his own life. He is removing the habits, the mindsets, the attachments that no longer align with who he is becoming. It's not destruction, it's preparation. It's the hard, messy work of transformation. The people around him might not understand it at first. They might see the storm and think he's losing control, that he's ruining his life. They might beg him to go back to being the calm, quiet version of himself, the version that didn't make waves, didn't ask for more, didn't challenge the status quo. But he knows he can't go back. He knows that the storm is a sacred process. He understands that sometimes you have to lose what is comfortable to make room for what is possible. Comfort zones are cozy, but they are not where greatness is born. After the storm passes, after the dust settles, something amazing happens. New opportunities begin to appear. New relationships, built on respect and authenticity, start to form. New ideas, new dreams, new strength rises from the rubble. The man who went through the storm finds that he is no longer the same. He stands taller, he speaks louder, he moves with purpose. He has learned that survival is not enough. He was meant to thrive. He was meant to lead, to inspire, to live fully and unapologetically. It's important to remember that growth is not instant. After the storm, there is still rebuilding to do. There are lessons to absorb, new foundations to lay. But the man who has faced his own storm is no longer afraid of hard work. He's no longer intimidated by challenge. He knows that he has the strength within him to create something better than what existed before. The storm was not a curse, it was a blessing in disguise. It was the fire that purified him, the wind that pushed him forward, the rain that washed him clean. So when a man turns into a storm, do not fear for him. Celebrate him. He is on the path to becoming his truest, strongest, most powerful self. And the life he will build after the storm will be a testament to the courage it took to let go of the old and embrace the new. The storm didn't destroy him, it set him free. When a man finds himself in the middle of his personal storm, the first instinct might be fear. After all, storms feel overwhelming. They are loud, unpredictable, and forceful. They shake the very ground you stand on. But what many fail to realize is that the storm itself is not the enemy. The storm is the sign that change is happening, that something within him refuses to stay silent, broken, or small any longer. Rather than fearing the storm, a man must learn to embrace it. He must recognize that the chaos he feels is actually the beginning of something powerful, a rebirth, a redefinition of who he is and what he stands for. Too often, men are taught to suppress their emotions, to stay composed at all costs, to avoid confrontation or disruption. Society praises the man who keeps it together, who holds it all in, but holding it in for too long is exactly what creates the storm. It is the years of silent endurance, the swallowed words, the ignored dreams, the countless sacrifices that build up into a force that can no longer be contained. The storm is not a mistake. It is the natural and necessary response to living too long in a way that betrays your true self. When the storm begins, a man might feel like he's losing control. He might worry that he's becoming someone he doesn't recognize. But in truth, he is not becoming someone else. He is finally meeting the real version of himself. The anger, the frustration, the fierce energy that surges through him are not signs of weakness. They are signs of awakening. They are the fire that burns away the lies he's been telling himself. They are the winds that push him out of his comfort zone and into the unknown territory where his true strength lies. It takes courage to embrace the storm instead of running from it. It takes strength to stand in the middle of your own chaos and say, "I will not fear this. I will walk through this." The man who does this discovers something profound, that the storm is not here to destroy him, it is here to transform him. It is here to strip away everything that is false, everything that is limiting, and reveal the man he was always meant to be. The storm demands honesty. It forces a man to look at what he has tolerated for too long. It forces him to confront the parts of himself he has neglected. It shines a harsh light on the compromises that have stolen his joy, the relationships that have drained his spirit, the dreams he has placed on dusty shelves. It is painful, yes. It is uncomfortable, absolutely. But it is also liberating. There is freedom in facing your own storm. There is clarity on the other side of it. A man must understand that every feeling he experiences during this time, the rage, the sorrow, the exhaustion, is part of the process. These emotions are not to be feared or silenced. They are messages from the soul, signals that healing is underway. By embracing the storm, he honors his own humanity. He acknowledges that he is not a machine designed to endure endless pressure without breaking. He is a living, breathing being with needs, dreams, limits, and limitless potential. After the storm has run its course, after the dust has settled, the man who embraced it will stand stronger. He will not be the same, and he shouldn't be. He will carry scars, yes, but he will also carry wisdom, resilience, and a deeper connection to his true self. He will walk with a different kind of confidence, one that comes from surviving the winds that once threatened to tear him apart. Embracing the storm is not about losing control, it's about reclaiming it. It's about stepping into the full, raw power of who you are and refusing to apologize for it. It's about trusting that the storm is not the end of your story, but the beginning of the chapter where you finally live it on your own terms. When a man goes through his storm, it is not just his own life that is shaken, it's the lives of everyone around him too. His friends, his family, his partner, all feel the effects of the changes he is undergoing. During this time, one of the most powerful and needed things is support. Not the kind of support that tries to fix him or tell him what he should be feeling, but the kind that simply stands with him quietly, solidly, without judgment. After the storm, after the emotions have raged and the decisions have been made, he doesn't need lectures or criticisms, he needs presence. He needs someone who understands that transformation is messy and healing takes time. For the people who love him, it can be confusing. They might feel helpless, wondering what they can do to make him better or get him back to normal. But the truth is, he isn't supposed to go back to who he was before the storm. That version of him had cracks and wounds and limits that he could no longer live with. The storm was necessary for his growth. The best thing a loved one can do is to recognize that they are not there to repair him. They are there to be his safe space. They are there to offer steady, unconditional support while he rebuilds himself from the inside out. Often, people are uncomfortable with other people's pain. They want to rush to solutions, offer advice, or push for positivity because sitting quietly with someone in their vulnerability is hard. But true support doesn't come from fixing. It comes from being willing to sit in the discomfort with them. It's saying, I see you, I hear you, I'm not going anywhere. It's allowing him to feel what he needs to feel without minimizing it or rushing him through it. It's giving him room to grieve what he's lost, to celebrate what he's found, and to rediscover who he is becoming. For a man who has just come through a personal storm, words can often feel hollow. What he needs is action small, simple acts of love and patience. A hand on his shoulder, a meal shared without expectation, silence that isn't heavy with judgment but full of presence, encouragement that isn't laced with pressure but filled with understanding. He needs to know that he doesn't have to perform strength for the sake of others. He needs to know that he is allowed to be in progress, to be unfinished, to be imperfect. The woman who can stand by a man after his storm becomes something irreplaceable in his life, not because she's saved. Him no one can save a man from his own storm but himself, but because she respected the process. She saw his chaos and didn't flinch. She witnessed his transformation and didn't try to stop it. She trusted that the man emerging from the storm was still worthy of love, even when he was bruised, even when he was unsure, even when he was different. Support after the storm is not about trying to hold on to who he used to be. It's about welcoming who he is now. It's about adjusting to the new boundaries he sets, the new dreams he chases, the new strength he carries. It's understanding that growth comes with growing pains, and sometimes that means the relationship must evolve too. Patience, empathy, and real listening become the foundation for rebuilding trust and intimacy. When a man knows he is supported without being judged, when he feels he is loved without condition, he heals faster. He rises stronger. He becomes not just the man he needed to be for himself, but the man his loved ones will admire, respect, and trust even more deeply. The storm changes him, yes, but it also changes everyone who chooses to stand with him. Together, they weather the winds and walk into a new future, built on a foundation that no storm can ever shake again. After the storm, a man carries within him something that cannot be taught, bought, or imitated wisdom. It is not the kind of wisdom found in books or classrooms, but the hard-earned understanding that only comes from surviving chaos, pain, and transformation. He knows now what it feels like to be broken open and rebuilt. He has seen his own limits, tested his own strength, and emerged with a deeper sense of himself. This wisdom is powerful because it is rooted in experience. It's not theory. It's not philosophy. It's the kind of knowledge that comes with scars, with lessons written directly onto the soul. A man who has weathered his own storm does not move through life the same way he used to. Before, he may have been cautious, uncertain, afraid of taking risks, worried about failure or judgment. After the storm, fear loses its grip. He understands that he has already faced some of the hardest battles a man can face: the battle with doubt, the battle with disappointment, the battle with himself, and he has survived. He no longer fears starting over. He no longer fears the unknown. He embraces change because he knows firsthand that growth always requires disruption. This new version of himself moves with a kind of quiet confidence. Not arrogance, not boastfulness, but a deep, calm knowing. He doesn't need to announce his strength. It shows in his actions, in his resilience, in his refusal to settle for for anything less than what he deserves. He sees challenges not as obstacles to fear, but as opportunities to rise. He meets setbacks with patience and courage. He understands that pain is part of the journey, not a reason to quit. Perhaps most importantly, the man who has survived the storm has a sharpened sense of purpose. He no longer chases empty goals or lives to please others. He doesn't waste time on things that do not align with his truth. His energy is too precious, too hard fought to be squandered on shallow pursuits. He sets his sights on things that matter: real dreams, real relationships, real fulfillment. He has learned that life is too short, too unpredictable, to spend even a moment pretending to be something he is not. With this wisdom also comes compassion. A man who has wrestled with his own darkness is slower to judge others. He understands what it means to struggle silently. He knows that everyone carries invisible battles. Instead of arrogance, he carries empathy. Instead of harshness, he offers patience. His heart, once hardened by pain, now holds a quiet, steady kindness born from having seen the other side of suffering. He also knows that storms come in seasons. Just because he survived one storm doesn't mean he will never face another, but that no longer terrifies him. He knows he has the tools, the resilience, and the spirit to weather whatever life throws his way. Each storm, each trial, each hard-earned victory adds to his foundation, making him stronger, wiser, and more unstoppable. The man who walks away from the storm is a man reborn. Not in the sense that he becomes someone else, but in the sense that he has finally uncovered who he was meant to be all along. The storm stripped away the fear, the doubt, the masks, and left behind only what was real, what was true. He no longer seeks validation from the outside world because he has found it within himself. This man lives with a different fire now. His dreams are bolder. His faith is deeper. His steps are heavier with purpose. He does not look back with regret, but with gratitude, because he knows that without the storm, he might have never become the force of nature he was always destined to be. So remember this: when a man turns into a storm, it ain't the end. Nah, it's just the beginning of a new chapter, a better, stronger version of himself. Thank you, and God bless.